Which backyard animals actually generate consistent monthly income, and which ones just eat your feed money while you wait for a payout that never shows up. Dave Calhoun, 57 years old, works at a grain elevator outside Muncie, Indiana. He has a third of an acre behind his house, roughly the footprint of 6 two-car garages side by side. Last year, he cleared $14,200 from 7 different animal operations on that property, averaging about 90 minutes of daily work across all of them. I spent an afternoon going through his records. What he's running is not complicated, but the combination is not what most people would guess, and the 2 animals that bring in the most consistent monthly cash are not chickens. I've been comparing notes with Dave for about 3 years now, running what he tracks in Indiana against what I watch on my half-acre in central Ohio. The main difference in how we think about it is that he treats his lot as an income portfolio before he thinks of it as a homestead. Every animal has to justify its square footage with a monthly number, not a vague promise about someday saving money on groceries. This list is organized around that principle. Some of these you'll recognize immediately. A few will surprise you, and one will probably make you skeptical for about 30 seconds before the math convinces you otherwise. Near the end, I'm covering the specific 2-animal pairing Dave added in year 4 that generates more income per square foot than anything else on his property, and it fits in about a 10 by 15 foot section of fence line. The frame that separates the people making money from a small lot from the people who are frustrated, they're not. A quarter acre is not a capacity problem. It's a portfolio allocation problem. You're not asking whether an animal fits. You're asking which combination of animals targets completely different buyers, produces income in different months, and doesn't compete with itself for the same customer. Most people pick chickens, and then they wonder why they can't make the math work at their scale. Dave started with chickens too. What changed is that he stopped trying to make one animal do everything and started treating each section of his property as a separate line on a balance sheet. One section for consistent egg and egg product income, one section for specialty livestock buyers, one section for the sportsman's market, one section for the niche markets that almost nobody else in his county is serving. You don't need all 4 to be running at once to start. But understanding that the goal is customer diversification, not animal diversification, changes every decision you make about what to put where. Khaki Campbell ducks are the foundation of Dave's egg income, and they're doing something chickens can't. Producing 300 to 320 eggs per year, per duck, with better winter consistency than any chicken breed I've tracked. The American Livestock Breeds Conservancy documents Khaki Campbells as the highest production duck breed in existence, averaging roughly 1 egg per duck per day across most of the calendar year. Duck eggs command $8 to $12 per dozen in most Midwest markets to a buyer base that specifically wants them, primarily bakers, pasta makers, and people with chicken egg allergies who discover that duck egg protein structure tolerates them better. 6 Khaki Campbells in a covered run about 100 square feet, roughly the footprint of a small bedroom, generate 25 to 27 dozen eggs monthly at peak production. At $9 average per dozen, that's $225 to $243 per month gross before feed. Feed for 6 ducks runs about $22 per month on a whole grain ration. Net egg income from 6 ducks, roughly $200 per month for most of the year. That customer, the person who specifically seeks out duck eggs and pays the premium without negotiating, is a completely different person than your chicken egg customer. Running both means doubling your buyer base without significantly overlapping it. French black copper Morans enter the picture as the second income stream in this egg layer category, and the income mechanism is different, not table eggs but hatching eggs. Documented bloodline Marans hens producing the dark chocolate brown eggs that backyard keepers actively seek will generate hatching eggs you can sell at $4 to $6 each to people chasing egg color genetics. 6 breeding hens producing 60 hatching eggs per month at $5 average. $300 per month, year-round, if the breeding pen is managed correctly. That's $500 per month from 12 birds in 2 pens, covering a combined footprint of about 200 square feet. Not bad for a fence line. The winter production advantage of Khaki Campbells over chickens comes from a different photoperiod response mechanism. Ducks evolved as migratory species in high-latitude environments and developed a less sensitive hormonal response to shortening daylight than domestic chicken breeds. Indiana winters that drop a black sex-link flock to 40% production will drop a khaki Campbell flock to roughly 70% production on the same ration with no supplemental lighting. That difference is meaningful when the egg customer is counting on you through December and January. The pet rabbit market is consistently underserved in most rural and semi-rural areas, and the price premium over meat rabbits makes it worth understanding separately. Holland Lops and Mini Rex are the two breeds that move fastest and at the highest price point in the 4-H, youth fair, and household pet categories. 2 does producing 5 litters per year at 4 kits each is 40 kits annually. At $65 per kit, that's $2,600 gross from 2 does. Feed for 2 does, plus growing kits runs about $35 per month. Net annual income, roughly $2,180. Monthly average, $182. You don't need a barn. A converted corner of the garage with 4 stackable wire cages, each about 30 by 36 inches, roughly the size of a microwave on its side, handles 2 does and a buck, with room for grow-out pens. That's the pet rabbit income stream. American chinchilla rabbits operate in a different part of the same market and deserve separate mention because the buyer profile and price point are distinct. This is a heritage breed on the American Livestock Breeds Conservancy's conservation priority list, which means breeders, small farm operators, and 4-H families specifically looking for documented chinchilla bloodlines will pay $80 to $120 per rabbit for quality breeding stock. That's not the same buyer paying $65 for a Holland Lop to keep in a child's bedroom. 2 chinchilla does producing at a comparable rate generate $200 to $400 per month in breeding stock sales. And because these are sold as breeding animals rather than pets, you're not competing with every Craigslist posting in your county. You're serving a niche that most people in your area have never thought to fill. I'll be direct about one failure mode I hit, trying to expand the pet rabbit side too fast. I bought a 3rd doe before I had the customer list to support her, and I ended up with 8 unsold kits at 9 weeks that I should have capped at 6 weeks of grow-out. The holding cost ate the margin on that litter entirely. Build the customer list before you build the herd. One more thing worth flagging. Holland Lop and Mini Rex breeding requires documented pedigree paperwork to command the $65 plus price point. A pedigreed kit from a registered breeder sells for $65 to $80. A non-pedigreed Holland Lop from a mixed background sells for $20 to $35, about the same as a barnyard mixed chicken. The pedigree is the product. Budget $80 to $150 for foundation stock from a registered breeder to start, and register the offspring through the American Rabbit Breeders Association. The registration process costs $2 per animal, and the paperwork is what justifies the price premium to every buyer. French Angora rabbits will make some people in your audience roll their eyes until you show them the per-pound math, and then they usually go quiet. Raw Angora fiber from a well-maintained French Angora sells for $10 to $16 per ounce to fiber artists, hand spinners, and small-batch textile producers who actively seek domestic sources because imported Angora fiber has quality control problems at scale. 4 rabbits clipped 4 times per year produce roughly 48 ounces of raw fiber annually. At $12 per ounce average, that's $576 per year from 4 rabbits that live in cages in a spare corner of the garage, eat about $8 per month each in pellets and hay, and require about 15 minutes of grooming per rabbit per week to maintain fiber quality. The Angora rabbit fiber market runs through Etsy, fiber festivals, and direct relationships with local spinners, none of which require a storefront or a website with a shopping cart. Dave does not run Angoras. I mention this one because the fiber income per pound of animal is higher than any meat operation on this list, and the buyer is completely invisible to most homesteaders who are only thinking about food production. A 10-pound Angora rabbit generating $12 to $16 per ounce of fiber produces the highest return per pound of body weight of any animal on a small lot. Frame it, however, makes sense for your audience. If this kind of content is useful to you, subscribe. Every week I cover practical backyard income operations with real tracked numbers from working residential lots. No product to sell you, just what the records show from people actually running this. Ring-necked pheasants tap a market that your audience already knows, exists, and has almost certainly participated in as a customer, the hunting preserve restocking market. Private hunting preserves across the Midwest and the East restock pheasants every spring, buying day-old chicks and young birds in volume from small local producers. Day-old pheasant chicks sell for $3 to $5 each. A breeding pair of ring-necked pheasants produces 50 to 80 chicks per season through natural nesting or incubated eggs, 3 pairs producing 60 chicks each at $4 average. $720 per spring from a seasonal operation that requires no daily management during the fall and winter off-season. Some states require a state wildlife propagation permit to breed and sell native pheasant species. In Indiana, Ohio, and most Midwest states, this runs $25 to $50 per year and takes about a week to obtain. Call your state DNR office before you build anything. That's the sportsman's market. Racing homer pigeons serve a completely different niche that most homesteaders have never thought to enter. And I want to be clear that it requires joining a regional racing club and building relationships before the income becomes real. But here are the actual numbers. Current year birds from proven racing bloodlines, called youngsters in the pigeon racing community, sell for $50 to $300 each, depending on the documented performance of the parent birds. A loft of 10 breeding pairs produces 40 to 60 young birds per year. Even at the conservative end, 40 youngsters at $60 each is $2,400 per year from a loft that takes up about 30 square feet of wall space, roughly the footprint of a chest freezer on its side. The racing pigeon market is large, established, and almost completely invisible to the homestead world because the two communities don't overlap. That's your competitive advantage. I don't run pigeons and I won't pretend I understand the breeding side of it at a technical level. What I know is that Dave added a small loft in year 3 and calls it his most consistent non-food income by a significant margin. Waxworms and dubia roaches are on this list because they serve two markets simultaneously from a setup that fits in a basement corner, cost almost nothing to establish, and generate income that arrives reliably every single month once the colony is producing. Waxworms first. The market is fishing bait and reptile feeder, and both buyers pay real money. Bait shops in the Midwest pay $5 to $8 per cup of 50 waxworms. Online reptile feeder markets pay $6 to $10 per cup. A mature waxworm colony running in 4 plastic storage totes on wheat bran and honeycomb wax substrate, stacked in a space of about 4 square feet, roughly the size of a large suitcase lying flat, produces enough monthly for $80 to $200 in sales, depending on the scale you run. Fishermen in your audience will understand the bait market immediately. Dubia roaches are a different operation, different insect, different buyer. A colony of 1,000 adult dubious produces over 500 nymphs per month at a sell price of $15 per 100 count to local reptile stores or online buyers. Monthly revenue from a mature established colony, $75 to $150. Set up in a ventilated plastic tote with egg carton hiding structures and a simple heat source. No odor if managed correctly. No noise, ever. One regulatory note: dubia roaches are banned in Florida as an invasive species risk, legal in all other 48 states. If you're in Florida, run the waxworm side only. The two insects together from a basement corner, 2 separate totes, generate $150 to $350 per month from a combined space of about 8 square feet, roughly the footprint of 2 washing machines. I have not run either of these myself, and I want to say that plainly. I know people who do. The numbers I'm giving you come from their operations, not mine. What I can add is the market access detail that makes this work. Local reptile stores typically purchase on a weekly basis at a predictable volume once a supply relationship is established. That predictability is what makes the insect income actually monthly rather than episodic. You're not selling at a farmer's market and hoping for walk-up traffic. You have a standing order from a store that runs out of feeders on a weekly schedule and would rather buy local than wait for a mail shipment. A backyard koi pond is the income operation that produces the most skeptical reaction from this audience, and the one that I think deserves a direct presentation of the math before the dismissal kicks in. A lined pond of 10 by 15 feet, roughly the area of a small bedroom, holds 20 to 30 adult koi at appropriate density. Koi spawn seasonally, and a single spawning event from a productive breeding pair produces thousands of fry. Koi fry sell for $1 to $2 each at 6 to 8 weeks of age. Fingerlings, which are fry, grown to 2 to 3 inches over 8 to 12 weeks, sell for $5 to $10 each. Mature koi at 8 to 12 inches, which take 1 to 2 years to reach, sell for $50 to $300 each, depending on coloration and pattern quality. The koi keeping community is a genuine enthusiast market with established buyers who spend real money and come back for more if you can produce consistent quality. The income is not linear, and it's not fully monthly in the traditional sense, because spawning is seasonal and grow-out takes time. What it is: an operation that generates meaningful lump sum income 2 to 3 times per year, from a water feature that costs $400 to $800 to install and roughly $20 per month to run an electricity. That averages out to a monthly income once you've been running it through a couple of seasons. The limitation worth naming: you cannot run this profitably in a climate with ice over winters without a significant filtration and heating investment. In the Pacific Northwest or the Deep South, it works nearly year-round. In central Ohio or Indiana, it's a spring through fall operation. The remaining 4 animals on this list operate in different markets and at different price points, and I want to cover them in the order of how surprised your audience will be by the math. Peafowl first. 1 breeding pair of India blue or black-shouldered peafowl. The peahen lays 20 to 30 eggs per breeding season at a sale value of $35 to $50 each for hatching eggs. Peacock chicks sell for $100 to $200 each. A single pair on a quarter acre produces $700 to $1,500 per season from eggs and chick sales, with minimal ongoing management beyond standard poultry care. The noise is real, comparable to a rooster, but lower pitched, and this rules them out for any lot with close neighbors or suburban HOA restrictions. Rural only. Heritage turkey breeding pairs, specifically Narragansett and Bourbon Red, generate income from the homesteader supply market rather than the meat market. 1 heritage turkey hen produces 50 to 60 hatching eggs per season at $8 to $10 each, and poults, which are turkey chicks, sell for $25 to $35 each to other small-scale producers and homesteaders who want to raise their own Thanksgiving birds from a quality bloodline. Monthly income during peak spring and summer: $200 to $400 from 1 productive pair. Mini Nubian dairy goats are the dairy option for a property under half an acre that the Nigerian dwarf doesn't fully address, because the butter fat and milk volume are both higher. A mini Nubian doe produces 1 to 2 quarts per day at 6 to 10% butter fat, which is the highest butter fat of any dairy breed according to American Dairy Goat Association records, making the milk ideal for cheese and butter production. Raw goat milk sells for $10 to $15 per quart in most markets where direct sale is legal. Check your state's raw milk laws before you run this income stream. Some states prohibit direct raw milk sales at the farm entirely. Others allow it freely. 2 mini Nubian does on a managed 200 square foot paddock, roughly the footprint of a 2-car parking space. Produce enough milk for both household use and direct sale income in the range of $200 to $400 per month during the 10-month standard lactation period. American guinea hog breeding stock closes the list, and it does so in a way that reframes an animal we covered previously as a meat producer. The income here is not from pork. It's from registered breeding piglets sold to other homesteaders who want to start their own guinea hog operation. 2 registered sows farrowing, which means giving birth, twice per year at 5 piglets each at $150 to $200 per registered piglet. $3,000 to $4,000 in annual piglet sales from 2 sows that also produce your own pork on the side. Homesteaders actively search for quality guinea hog breeding stock, and the supply is thin in most regions. The American Livestock Breeds Conservancy lists guinea hogs as a conservation priority breed, which adds a narrative to the breeding operation that the market values. Zoning applies. Some counties require minimum lot acreage for swine. Call before you fence. Dave's specific two-animal pairing, the one I promised at the start, as his highest income per square foot combination. I want to be precise because the bridge promised this, and I want to deliver it with the numbers, not just the names. Khaki Campbell, ducks paired with French black copper Morans hatching egg operations, run side by side along a shared fence line, each occupying roughly 100 square feet of covered pen space, roughly the footprint of a large bathroom each. The combination is not obvious until you look at the buyer profiles side by side. The duck egg buyer wants a premium egg for baking and cooking and pays $9 to $12 per dozen without negotiating. The Moran's hatching egg buyer is a completely different person, a backyard keeper chasing dark chocolate egg genetics, and pays $4 to $6 per egg, not per dozen, for hatching eggs from documented bloodlines. Those two customer bases have zero overlap. One does not satisfy the other. Running them next to each other means the combined 200 square feet of fence line serves two markets simultaneously, with no competition between them and no marketing crossover. Dave's tracked numbers on this pairing in central Indiana across the last 2 calendar years. $420 to $490 per month combined from the two operations in their 200 square foot footprint. That is $2.10 to $2.45 per square foot per month from a fence line that most people would just let grow weeds. The setup cost for both pens combined, including birds, wire, feeders, waterers, and nest boxes, was $640 the first year. He recovered that cost in under 2 months of combined sales. I want to add the honest caveat. These numbers are from one property in one market. Duck egg demand is not identical everywhere. Moran's hatching egg buyers are more concentrated in suburban and semi-rural areas where backyard chicken keeping is popular. Run a test listing on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace before you build anything. See what your local market responds to. The combination works in the right market. Confirm yours is one of them before you spend the $640. People who make income work from a small property are not the ones who found a magic animal. They're the ones who figured out that different animals serve different buyers, and that customer diversification on a quarter acre is more valuable than scale on any single species. Start with one operation. Get the customers before you get the animals. Then add the second income stream to a different buyer base. That's how a quarter acre becomes a portfolio instead of a hobby that costs money. The animals on this list are not the point in and of themselves. The customer is the point. Find the customer first. The right animal follows.